Welcome back to another episode of Latinas Power Talk. I am your host, Kenia Vasquez. Thank you for tuning in another week. Amigas, thank you so much for all your support. If you're cooking for your man, if you're in the car listening to this podcast, if you're going to the gym, thank you for listening, tuning in, supporting, liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. Guys, you know, week after week, we have amazing boss women here. And today is no exception. I am super excited to speak with her today. You see her on Kiss FM. She is not only here in Phoenix, but she's also in Tucson. She's in San Diego. She's in San Francisco. And she is here now to talk to us and share her stories. So please help me welcome Suzette.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, girl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I have so much energy right now. I'm so excited to dive in, but thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I honestly, it warms my heart, everyone who comes on the show and says yes, because I know you guys can be doing so many other things and you guys are so busy, but you take time to sit here and share your story. So muchas gracias.
Yeah, no.
Honestly.
I mean, these are the conversations that I like to have because I've got 10 seconds in between songs on the radio. So whenever I can, elaborate more on things, I always love that opportunity. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I love your outfit, girl.
Thanks.
Looking so
Thank
chic.
you.
Yes. But, okay. So everybody knows you. You're on the radio. You're on Kiss FM. And I want to dive into who you are, your upbringings, who you were as a kid. So you went to, you grew up in Tucson, right?
Yes, grew up in Tucson. So I was born and raised in Tucson. But I spent a lot of my time in Nogales, as we talked about just before we started. But I grew up in Tucson. I started radio in Tucson, actually. I went to the U of A. And while I was the first year at the U of A, I was working at In-N-Out Burger. And I was student body president at my high school. So I was constantly reaching out to the radio station to come out and DJ football games.
Yeah.
And I kept in contact with one of the DJs, which happened to be one of the bosses, one of the program directors of the hip hop station out there. Mm-hmm. And he, when I was at the U of A, he needed a part-time worker. So he was like, I need someone that's going to be here at 4 a.m, that is reliable. It's minimum wage. Are you interested? And I was like, anything to stop working at a fast food restaurant. And he was like, all right, let's give it a shot. So that's how I got my foot into the door with iHeartRadio, which was Clear Channel at the time. So this was 12 years ago.
So you started knocking on doors then when you were in high school. Did you always have that espinita of you know what, I kind of am interested in radio. I want to do that since high school? Or were you just trying to get someone to come to your high school?
I've always been the type of person, I had no idea that that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to, being in student council and having all these events, I always wanted to make everything more exciting. Yep. Whatever it was that we were doing. I was like, how can we elevate this? How can we, bring...
get the crowd pumped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because especially my high school, shout out to Desert View High School, it had no spirit whatsoever. And I remember seeing all these other high schools that even their sports weren't good, but they still had all this spirit. And I wanted that for my high school. So I was like, let's make things better. So that's why I would reach out to the radio stations and see if they could DJ, see if they could give out free stuff or whatever the case was. So I didn't even see it as a way of networking. I was just trying to help my school be better.
Y antes, I feel like networking wasn't a word that was used.
Not at all.
No. Now it's more popular of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
But you started networking before it was even trending, before it was even a thing, girl,
Yeah.
But so that first job, what was it?
Well, when I got hired at the radio station, I was a board op. So we had a show in Tucson that was coming down from Detroit, and they would send over the audio, and I had to make sure that there was no Detroit references whatsoever. Try to
clean it.
Yeah, clean it, make it as local as possible, and that's why I had to get there at 4 a.m. The show would start at 5, and I had to make sure that everything was airing and everything was perfect. So I was kind of like a show producer without the actual show there, but that's how I started off, and I enjoyed being there so much because I was able to just focus and do my job and not rely on anyone. And I've always been a perfectionist, and I want to get it done right. And, fast food restaurants, everyone's mean to you. It's chaotic. It's crazy. If you've ever worked, fast food restaurant, you know how crazy it is. And I just wanted to try something else. And I absolutely loved the radio station, that I would be there all day. Me tenían que correr. Like, you got to get out of here. We're going to get in trouble because you're spending so much time here that we're not
Go
paying
home,
you.
go sleep, go eat, go do something, but be here.
Yeah. So it was, at the time, I was at U of A, and we didn't have money really for college. So I had to work multiple jobs to be able to pay for school. And I would work the radio station in the morning. I would go to class. I would go to my other job. And then I would still find time at the end of the day to go back to the radio station and learn whatever I could.
Your story is so inspiring. I was doing my research on this, and I think it's something that honestly, like when I was reading, I was like, I got goosebumps because I'm like, dude, this girl has worked so hard. Like, you have worked so extremely hard. I was reading that you had 5 jobs at one time while you were going to college at U of A.
Yeah.
How did you like balance everything?
I don't even know, because I'm having a hard time balancing life now. And I'm like, how did I do it then? But it was just something that I had to do in order to finish school, to be in school. Because for me, growing up, it was just my mom and I. My dad and my mom divorced when I was at a really young age. And she never worked. It was always my dad. So when she divorced, she had to work. And it was only myself. And I have a sister and a brother that are a lot older. But by the time my mom and my dad divorced, they were already kind of in college.
Grown,
yeah,
they were doing
their own thing. They were building their families. So it was just my mom and I, and all I saw from a very young age was her hustle and work, and she had no other choice. And she always told me every day, every night when I would see her, I need you to study so that you're not cleaning toilets like I am. I need you to study. And she would even take me with her to hotel rooms that she would clean, houses that she would clean, and she would make me work with her so that she can be like, you don't want to do this your whole life. It sucks, right? I need you to study. Necesito que estudies, que termines la escuela. And that was always something she told me.
Engraved in you.
It was engraved in me. So when I started at the U of A, it was incredibly hard. And
were you full-time?
I was full-time. Yeah, I never went part-time. I stayed full-time. And I had no one to ask for money to pay for school.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second? Because I feel like, so were you the first in your family to go to college, I'm assuming?
No, my sister and my brother also. Well, my brother took off to the Army when he was 18, but my sister went to U of A as well. Well, she started first at Pima Community College, and then she transferred to the U of A. But tuition was not as expensive as it is
and it's
now.
probably not as expensive as like people who are in school right now than when we were in school and college. But yeah, I think like I've heard this over and over again. Of like our cultura, we really have to teach ourselves. Like when it comes to like higher education, no one gives us a book. No one is like holding our hand of like, this is FAFSA, this is what you got to do. This is deadlines, this is scholarships. Like they kind of just like leave us to go figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's some hard shit. It is some hard shit. You had 5 jobs. I went to ASU and I had 3 part-time jobs at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was hard. So when I read your story and I was like, she had 5 jobs, like, I don't know how you did it. Like, honestly, I was like, my hat's off to you. Because it is hard. Like, I remember I would cry. I would cry because I was like, you get tired. You don't really have that like college experience fully as other people might have had, because you literally just have to go from like school, class to like your one job to then back to school or go to sleep or do homework and then back to school again. And then, you know, it's like this never ending cycle for 3-4 years, however long it is. But I remember like in those moments where I was in college, like I remember my mom would be like, o le chingas los 4 años en el colegio o le chingas toda tu vida. And
ooh, that's good.
You know, and it is true. Like as teenagers, because you really are a teenager, you're a young adult, you don't really realize it. It's like shit. That now that we're older and we can reflect back, it's like that's so accurate. But so did you have that college experience per se?
Not at all. I mean, there was no time for it whatsoever. I would literally go work at the radio station, go to class, go to another job. I would also taught at a dance studio. So that was like 1 or 2 hours a day. And then I would work at the mall on the weekends. And then whatever time I had left, I would go back to the radio station. So it was, and you know, the work part of it for me wasn't hard because I grew up seeing that. And I just knew that that's what I needed to do to finish school. The school part was extremely hard for me. Like just kind of seeing how everyone around me, not everyone, but a lot of people, that's all they had to focus on was school. And I'd get extremely frustrated. And in a sense, like jealous, like, oh, you don't have to go to work and you can spend all day studying. And I don't understand this material. No, I don't even have time to study. So yeah,
I don't even have time for tutoring, even if I wanted to go to tutoring.
Exactly.
And like a lot of people make up excuses of like, oh, I didn't do my homework. Why? Because I was out partying. Dude, like at least you had time to even do your homework if you wanted to, you know?
Yeah, it drove me crazy because I also worked at the U of A. So I would work at the radio station, I would go to class, and I would go right there to work at the student union. And I would see, like, you know, during the week, people showing up drunk or like high. And I was just like, oh, man, like you are living the life. But I was like, I have no other choice. I don't have mom and dad to ask for money like that.
I feel like la gente que like les cuesta realmente, like with blood, sweat, and tears, like how they say, are the people who appreciate it the most, right? Like I feel like if you're just given, like those people who were just given a higher education, you know, opportunity, they probably didn't appreciate it as much as like you have like, dude, I am busting my ass to be here, you know, it doesn't come free.
Yeah. You know, my husband and I kind of have like similar stories in that sense. And we both have like our degrees framed in the house. You know what I mean? Because it's like such a proud moment for us because it was not easy whatsoever. But I do feel like with people that, it's crazy. I actually talked to a coworker about this too today. I feel like the people that worked multiple jobs or even just one job during college kind of had a easier transition from college to real life. Because I've noticed that a lot of people that I graduated with that just went to school felt like they needed to get things handed to them because they finished school. And I knew that no matter what I did, I had to start from the bottom and prove myself.
That's what I was going to say. Starting from like those beginning entry level positions where maybe some other people are like, oh no, if I don't get this position, then I'm not going to work at all until I get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, the reality is that in this country, you have to work up the ladder, you know?
Exactly.
But yeah. So what did you go to school for? What did you major in?
I actually majored in communications, but I first went with the degree of media film. I wanted to be a film producer, a director.
So behind the camera, I was going to say.
Behind the camera, I wanted nothing to do with the camera or the microphone in my face.
Like, and now look at you now, girl.
And I still struggle with it.
Really?
To be quite honest with you, yeah.
Do you get nervous?
Yes.
Going on the mic?
Like, the most like anxiety. I never liked the spotlight, and I don't think I ever will because I thought by this time, 12 years in this industry, that I'd love it, but I don't.
Interesting.
When I first got hired, like I said, I was behind the scenes, I was producing, and then I did a little bit of everything at the radio station because I was there even when I wasn't supposed to be. I was like, what do you guys need? I cleaned the closets, cleaned the cars. I was part of the street team after I would do the producing of a morning show. That's when digital kind of started in the company. So we had a Facebook page for our radio station, so I started handling that. I was the right hand to the program director of the hip hop station, so I learned a little bit of everything other than sales. I don't think I could ever do sales. But my boss, shout out to Dwayne Chavez in Tucson, he's my mentor, and he was like, I'm going to put you on a Sunday shift. And I was like, oh my God, no, don't, please. I'll do anything.
And had you ever done like anything on air?
Nothing. I was so shy. It took me forever to even like record one break, to crack the mic open one time. It would take me forever. But he saw something in me and he pushed me and he coached me, and I just did it because it was my job and that's what my boss wanted me to do. And then I got a call from the Phoenix boss, the program director at the time, on KISS, and was like, hey, I want you to come up to Phoenix and do afternoons over here. I was like, what? I started with Sunday, just Sunday. That was my coaching, my practicing, and then I then ended up getting the night show on the hip hop station. So I was the night girl on Hot 98.3 in Tucson. After that, I became the afternoon host on the hip hop station, and that's when Phoenix called me. And I started doing overnights for Phoenix from Tucson because you can do multiple markets from one place. And so they had me doing overnights, almost like, I didn't know, it was like an audition. And they liked me, and they wanted me to move up here and be their afternoon host.
And what at that point, did you start loving it then? Or what kind of encouraged you to be like, you know what, let's make that jump and come to Phoenix?
For me, I started to see like, okay, this company likes me. I worked hard to get to where I'm at, and it was paying the bills and allowing me to take care of mom. And that was my goal from day one. Is I saw how hard she worked, that all I wanted was to be able to take care of her, like she took care of me. So I was just like, yeah, I'll get it done. I'll just work, whether I like it or not. Like, I still had the most anxiety being in front of people, but I also enjoyed it because the people I worked with were great. I mean, you're working
team,
concerts. Yeah, it was just, it was a fun environment. As much as I hated the spotlight, I still got that part done, but enjoyed everything else of it.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. It's kind of like it just kind of kept on like becoming more. It kind of snowballed in a way, right? It snowballed. But, I'm sure they probably saw something in you in that spark, and that like you're just so easy to talk to. So I think like that's what probably like program directors are wanting of someone who people can tune in on the radio and they see that it's like their friend talking to them. It's not like some stranger, and you have that of like opening up. And I think that's like your gift, I would say, you just make people feel comfortable, girl.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because for the longest time I'm like, honestly, when I kept getting a promotion, I'd be like, why me? Like, what? Like, I get it. Like, I'll show up whenever you want me to and I'll do the work. But there are so many other talented people out there. I was always so confused as to like, why me? And I think something too that I didn't realize I had, being at the afternoon host on KISS, I ended up getting the opportunity to be mornings with John J. Rich. So I was the fourth mic with them. It was John J. Rich, Kyle, and myself. And I talked like I told you, I'm an open book. I'm very transparent. I have, I'm like, I really don't get embarrassed. Like I'm just like, I'm me unapologetically myself.
Love that.
And I think that a lot of people, I don't know, maybe in radio, they try to have a little bit of swag or like this
persona.
Yeah. And I wasn't trained like that whatsoever. I was from the beginning, just be yourself. Just be yourself.
This was Suzette. Yeah.
And I think people gravitated towards that for sure. And then I talked about everything on the radio, like my dad being in and out of jail and how my mom and I struggled and how my mom is my world and all I want is to take care of her. And that's when I saw the impact that radio could have, because that's when I started having people stop me at the store and be like, my story is so similar to yours. Like, it's just me, my mom and I, like, my dad's not in my life, or I also work multiple jobs just to finish school or whatever. And that's when I was like,
people saw themselves in you.
Yeah, that's when I was like, oh, dang, like you can actually make a difference. Like you can really impact the community. And I didn't realize I was doing that just by being myself. And I think my bosses saw that as well. So I'm just grateful that they saw that in me and gave me the opportunity to speak to.
Have you always been this confident? Like as a little girl, were you always like this confident little girl?
I don't know if I was confident. I mean, I danced, so everyone was always like, you have to have a lot of confidence to dance.
Yeah.
You get on the stage and perform.
In front of people.
Yeah. But I think affirmations were not big back then either. But my mom always spoke highly of me to me. She'd be like, you're beautiful, you're talented, you're strong. So I guess I always heard that, and I always just felt confident.
I want to talk about your mom and your relationship with her. So you grew up with a single mom then?
Yeah, Dad was in and out of jail. And we had, I want to say elementary school years, I experienced them trying to work things. And then it was just chaos. They would get back together. It'd get ugly. They would, separate. And then they'd get back together. It was just a chaotic time. And then finally, I think I was the one that told her, just leave him. And I think she was trying to make it work for me so that I could also experience what my brother and my sister experienced, was them together. Like they got
living
to
with
see,
both parents.
Yeah, they got to see the good side of like my dad. And I never really got to see that. So when I told her, I'm like, if leaving him makes you happy, I just want you to be happy. And that's when she was like, whoa, like, how is this little girl telling me to leave her dad?
If my daughter can see it, then okay, I'm not masking it as,
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents do that. I think a lot of parents like stay in marriages or partnerships for the kids, but reality is the kids are like seeing everything that's happening.
Everything. And she didn't even try to hide anything that was going on, because she was very like, I want you to see what it's not supposed to be like. And I want you to know that this is just what's happening. She was very honest with me.
I was going to say, she was very open about it. Because how old were you at this point?
I was 8, 7.
Yeah.
And she had conversations with me like I was an adult. And I understood absolutely everything that was happening. So when she separated from him, you know, she was trying to also like figure herself out. And I was just riding along. And I was just like her biggest supporter. I was just like, go mom, you got this. You know, if you want to date him, go ahead. If you want to go out, go ahead. I never had any resentment towards her. And, you know, I never had any resentment towards my dad either. Because she always made it clear, like, hey, like your dad has a problem. And I don't want you to hate him. Like, he's still your dad. And I never once did I feel any hate towards him.
Oh, wow.
Even when there was a time where he was in jail for a long time, and I want to say this was close to when I was going to get married. And I went to go visit him in jail, and I was like, hey, Dad, like, I know we don't really have, like, the closest relationship, but I want you to be there when I get married. Like, I want you to behave. I want you to, like, get healthy so that you can meet my kids. Like, I would love for my kids to meet you one day. And at this point, like, I was just engaged. I'm getting emotional. And I think he heard it more from my mom, my sister, and my brother, but he had never heard me speak to him that way. And I don't know if he thought that I just didn't know anything, that I was too young to process what was really happening in our lives. But it seemed like something clicked, because since then he hasn't been in jail. Like, he's been doing good, and he was there at my wedding. He's met my, you know, both my boys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's not, you know, the best dad in the world, but he's in my life now, and we have a good relationship, and I'm just grateful for that, because life's short. You know, like, we're not here forever. So why hold on to this anger? It's not going to do me any good.
And we don't know how much time we have to, you know? Yeah. I think we take time for granted sometimes of like, oh, we're young. Okay. That unfortunately doesn't mean anything, you know?
Yeah.
But no, that's beautiful. Like, thank you for sharing that part. Tell me about mom life. So you have 2 boys.
Yeah.
They're 2 and 5 months, you told me.
Yes.
They keep you busy. I saw that you guys went to Disneyland this weekend.
We did. I took the 2-year-old. I didn't take the 5-month-old, because I'm like, yeah, it's going to be very hard with you, buddy. He has no idea what's going on still. But mom life is wild. Because,
have you always wanted to be a mom?
You know, I never saw myself as a mom.
Really?
I always saw myself working. I didn't even see myself married. I saw myself just working nonstop. One of those women that just work is their life.
Career driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be in LA or New York. I don't know doing what, but I just wanted to be out there. And I met my husband, and he changed my life for the better.
I was going to say, changed your entire life.
Changed my whole
your
life.
Your roadmap went like...
I was like, what? What are you doing to me? No, he's honestly my better half. Cause
where do you guys meet?
So we were both at the U of A, but we worked at In-N-Out Burger at different locations.
So back in Tucson.
In Tucson. Okay. Yeah, he's also from Tucson. And In-N-Out people from all the locations would party. And so we ended up seeing each other like at some house party. And we just kept like, you know, in contact, and we'd go to different parties. I'd see him at the U of A.
You guys became friends.
Yeah, we became friends, and that's really what it was. Like, we just started hanging out, and he caught feelings, and I was like, no.
You're like, not me, though.
I was like, no, I had just left a serious relationship of 4 years, and I just wanted to have fun and focus in my career. And he was like, didn't beg, but he was like, come on, just give it a shot. Just give it a shot. And I was like, I said no, like, I wasn't going to do this. And I was like, you know what? I felt like he was the perfect guy at the wrong time. And I was like, how am I going to let this perfect guy go? Just because, like, it's not my timing. And I gave him a shot. And it's been, honestly, so easy with him. Like, we hardly argue.
Oh, my gosh, that's beautiful.
He's, and I was, you know, I could be boring. I could be grouchy. And he is the complete opposite of me. So he's always bringing out the best in me.
Love that.
Wouldn't say this to his face.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But he knows. He knows.
We're taking this part out.
Yeah. Don't let his ego or his head get big.
So how long have you guys been together?
We've been together for 11 years. No, 12. Oh my gosh. We've been together since 2013. So 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Married for 2-3 years.
And now having babies.
And now we have babies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And mom life is great, but it's really hard when you're working.
Girl, I don't know. I was telling you before we recorded, like our tias, our moms made it look so easy because I don't have kids, so I can't even. I'm speaking out of my you know what right now. You know what I mean? But like I've seen like when some of my closest friends like who are moms, I'm like, dang, like once you see it so up close and personal,
It's rough.
It's rough. It's so hard. It's like your whole life switches completely, instantly. You could be career driven, so career driven, which I'm sure you were. And then now like these tiny humans need all your attention.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you learn to divide like your time between your career, events that you have to go to, concerts, your family?
It is the hardest thing for me because everyone says you have to balance, right? Mm-hmm. You hardly ever balance.
People talk about balance like they know what balance is. It's like, okay, what does balance look for you then? Because
you come up short in one aspect in your life.
Yeah.
But I think you always try to aim for balance and just having that mentality of like, okay, I think I've worked enough today. Like I need to spend time with my kids. And that's where I'm at always. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm at least aiming for balance because I want to give everything the same attention and energy. But I am so fortunate that my mom decided to move up here with me from Tucson to take care of my boys.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm able to work in peace because I know they're with abuela and I know abuela is going to take care of them and they're getting all the love in the world. But I also, but it's also different because she's, you know, old school Mexicana and I have to kind of change some things that she doesn't necessarily agree with. But it's, you know, it's breaking those generational cycles that I have to work I have to explain to her. Is
it different like seeing your mom now as a grandma or is it kind of like really similar to how she would parent you?
It's very similar in the sense that she was always very loving and she's very loving with the kids. But yeah, abuelas are always going to like be way more lenient with.
They have a soft spot for the babies. Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to discipline. They leave that to us. We're the bad guys. But that's the only thing, you know, like it's just, she doesn't have to do any of the disciplining. And I tell her, I'm like, don't let him. You got to tell him. Regáñalo. And she has such a hard time doing that because she just wants to be the good guy.
So how's work now? What's the goal? What's coming up next? Like,
I feel like I'm in a good place. I really like doing afternoons on KISS. Like, I really enjoy that. But I'm open to, honestly, anything that comes my way. I've always been really open-minded with whatever it is they want me to do. Obviously, I did whatever my bosses wanted. But it's gotten me to where I am now. And also, I'm always a student. Like,
you're always learning.
Always learning.
Yeah.
And my goal when I first kind of learned how radio worked was to be a program director, was to run my own radio station. And maybe, hopefully, one day that happens. But at least I've worked almost all the departments where if I do become, if I do become a program director and I have the on-air experience and I create a team of my own, I'm able to coach and guide them and manage them. So hopefully that's the goal. But honestly, I think you're always going to want more, right? And I just want to be happy where I'm at. And if more is presented to me, let's go.
Take it.
Let's run with it.
Yeah, let's run. Let's jump on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever face, like, as a Latina in media, and because you look younger than your age, like, did you ever face, like, a time where people didn't take you seriously?
You know, because my mom always engraved that in me. Trabaja duro, put your head down, just work, hustle. When I started working, I was oblivious to absolutely everything. I was just zone out and work. And in a sense, like, I don't know if nobody took me serious. I don't know if I was getting those looks or...
You weren't thinking that. You were just, like, honed in onto your work.
Yeah. And I think people saw that I never paid attention to any of the noise around me. I just did what I had to do. And I worked very hard to be the best at it or to make it better or, you know, elevate it in some way. And I think that's what got me to where I'm at. And in a way, I'm very happy that I worked it that way because I don't know if feeling like I didn't belong or hearing paying attention to what people were saying were going to strip my confidence away.
Get in your head.
Get in my head.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, sometimes it's important to just block everyone out and just do your thing, because I could be someone that gets in my head. I can get in my own way, you know? So if I hear people
It's going to feed into it.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, you know, and I want to have awareness. So when I hear things, I'm like, am I like this? Or, you know, you start second guessing yourself because you want to be the best version of yourself.
Right.
So I think that I went in not paying attention to anyone or anything that could be negative, I guess.
And just, you hustled your
got
way.
it done.
Yeah, you got it done. I have a few like quick questions if you want to play.
Okay.
So if I weren't doing radio, what would I have done?
I would have liked to pursue film behind the scenes. I really wanted to move to like LA to do behind the scenes and I don't know, whatever movie, TV set. But then when I got into like my mental health journey, I really liked the therapy side of things.
Really?
Yeah. I'm that friend that a lot of people come to with their problems, and sometimes they just need someone to hear them out, or sometimes they want my advice. And I don't know, I guess I have that because a lot of my friends, a lot of my coworkers, a lot of family members, they come to me, and I didn't realize that until my husband pointed out.
What is that called? Because my friend is exactly like that. My friend can be in an Uber and like just the Uber driver just spills everything, you know? I think that's called like being an empath. Is that what it's called? That people just like trust you. Like, have you ever had occasions where like random people at like the store just come up to you and just start telling you their problems and stuff?
I've cried with strangers. Just because they're crying, I immediately start crying because I feel whatever pain they're feeling. So yeah, I've had a lot of people.
Have you been to therapy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It was something that I had to discover on my own because, you know, a lot of older Mexican households don't talk about that.
They don't. They
know?
think you're being dramatic if you have anxiety or whatever it may be. But
Or
I
they
think,
just didn't know what it was.
yeah, I think that opportunity wasn't given to them. So now that we do have that opportunity, it's like, no, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Like we've been fine our whole lives. Why do you need it now? It's like, no, I think even if you don't have a mental health illness, I think we all have things to work on.
It's a muscle that you have to exercise. And I introduced that to my mom.
You did?
I mean, she's gone through I've said this to myself so many times. I need to write a book about my mom because she is a survivor. She has gone through so much traumas, and she's still so happy. I'm like, how are you still so happy after everything you've been through? But there was a point where I saw that she was very unhappy. And I was like, hey, maybe you should think about going to a therapist. And she thought I was calling her crazy. She got extremely offended. And I was like, mira, ma, like I did this and I feel so much better. And I didn't even know it was a thing. And she was open to it, receptive, and our relationship got better because of that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I tried to do therapy with my dad too. Therapist was like, okay, you guys are good now. And I'm like, no, we're not.
It's something that you should go to for the rest of your life. Like,
yeah. I feel like we always have things that we have to work on. Like whether that be childhood traumas or like cycles in life that teach us things. Like we're always going through shit. We're always going through things that are going to either like taint us or help us or whatever. And like they help us like get through them and be like, okay, let me think it out and not just put it in a jar and put it away until it like bothers me at 2 years down the line.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Right? Yeah.
And that's something that I don't want that to come out of me and affect my kids. So I have to work very hard in making sure that I'm still staying as healthy as possible mentally.
Yeah. No, I love that. So if I can give one piece of advice to my younger and older self, what would it be?
To my younger self, I don't regret working so much, but I did miss a lot of family time when I was working. And looking back, like I'll see pictures of my nieces and nephews, like birthday parties, and I'm like, wow, I wasn't part of that one. Like, where was I? And I was like, I was probably working. So I think if I would have, I guess, try to balance things a little bit better. I know that my work ethic is what got me where I'm at right now, but I can't get those moments back. And I see those pictures and I feel it. And I'm like, I should have been there.
You know, a lot of people say that when you're in that industry, you have to give up you have to sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
And do you think that's a valid statement for you?
For sure. I did it without realizing because I wanted more. But yes, I feel like back then that was big. But now I think the world has a little bit more understanding of balance and giving that time to family, especially after the pandemic. I feel like a lot of people slowed down, and
You
we
think
needed
so?
that. I think so.
Yeah?
I feel that. At least in the media industry, I do feel like I see some people where are like, hey, no, it's time for my family. Like,
Take some days off.
Yeah. And back then, I was surrounded by a lot of workers that never took any time off.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was following in their footsteps. I was.
The thing I'm most grateful for is...
Ooh. I would say my health.
Yeah.
My health. Because, I mean, my mom has had cancer twice. She was diagnosed with breast cancer during the pandemic and then developed lupus. So
my goodness.
Yeah, so I've been with her and throughout everything when it comes to finding out and going to her doctor appointments and her pains and her struggles. So I guess I took my health for granted until I realized, like, oh man, it can get anyone. And I'm just so grateful that now I'm taking more care of that. I'm going to the doctor and getting my checkups, and I'm just so happy because I have such a huge family, and it seems like everything is in our family. So whenever I go to the doctor and they're like, is there a history of this? And I'm like, check all the boxes. My mom has 19 brothers and sisters, and we got it all.
19 brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Talk about a busy house.
Yeah. She had 19 brothers and sisters. My dad had 9 brothers and sisters. So
Bien
big,
muchos primos.
muchos primos.
Big family gatherings.
Muchos, yes.
How many people were at your wedding?
Well, we had our wedding scheduled for July 11, 2020, and the pandemic hits. So we postponed it, and then I still didn't feel right doing it, even when people were still scared of it. And I'm like, I'm not going to have a party just so someone can get sick, and God forbid.
Right.
So we ended up canceling it completely. And we're like, we'll just wait until we feel like we're safe to have
Comfortable.
a big party again. And I ended up getting pregnant. So I got pregnant, and I was like, yep, ni modo, let's just get married through the church now because my dress is not going to fit in a couple weeks. So we just got married through the church, and I had my baby boy. So no time for a fiesta.
Maybe when you renew your vows, you know?
That's what my husband says. And I'm
a
like,
big party.
I like the fact that we saved that money. So let's keep that.
You're like, let's spend it on a vacation instead. Yeah.
That's the kids' money now. Like, our fun is their fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. What makes me unique is...
What makes me unique?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm the most basic out there.
Girl, you know you are not basic.
I feel basic. I just feel like I'm just like everyone else.
Do you get imposter syndrome?
Very much so.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I just, for me, I've always had an eye of like, oh my gosh, that person has it. That person's talented. Ooh, you could be something. And I'm always focusing on like everyone else's greatness that sometimes like, I'm like, why do I got this? You know, why am I here?
You're so humble. You're so humble because before starting this, and I'm going to share this, before starting this, I told you, I was like, when I told one of my friends that you were going to be on the podcast, she fangirled. You have a lot of people who love you.
Oh,
you really do.
That. I appreciate them because, yeah, I have a hard time seeing it. Like, why? You know?
I think you're just so open and you're just, you're, I don't know, unique. To come back to the question, you know? But people see that. People see people who are good-hearted. Like, eso no se miente, no se tapa con nada, you know?
Yeah. And I guess that's it because I do have people immediately tell me, like, once I meet you, you can tell you're a good person. You have a good heart. And I'm like, I'm glad you say that because sometimes when people see me from afar, I have a resting bee face. And they're like, I was afraid to come up to you because you look so stuck up. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm like, if anything, I'm shy. So I'm happy that you come up to me because I'm too shy to even go up to you.
So you don't go up to people then?
It's rare.
Really?
It's rare. I'm very introverted.
So how do you do it when you have to interview people on air?
I get it done because it's my job.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have to just put my big girl chonies on and do the job.
Have you ever been like nervous to interview like a celebrity, let's say?
All the time.
Yeah?
The biggest to the smallest. Like, I want them all to feel comfortable and because there was a reputation at one point where radio hosts were kind of nasty in the way that they talked to artists and always trying to get the dirt and not really caring about their feelings and just trying to get that sound bit or that headline.
Yeah.
And you can tell when artists, back then at least, when artists would come in, and even some now, they would come in with such a big guard. And I always wanted them to know that, hey, they were safe with me. You know, I wasn't going to try to make them look bad or make them sound bad. So I was always nervous because I feel like I had to break that from them.
Break that reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And lastly, so what I want people to know about Suzette is...
What do I want people to know about me? Oh, that's such a tough one because I've never even thought about that. I don't know, that I guess that I am as real as it gets. I don't think I don't think I can fake being anything or anyone. So yeah, that's tough for me. I'm an open book, so I hope that, you know, everything I put out there is taken as it is.
Como tú dijiste hace rato, being unapologetically yourself. You know, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we can go like 20 minutes longer.
We honestly could. We go for hours.
I know. But thank you so much for being an open book, for being so authentic, for representing Latinas in media. Like, I hope you know that. Like, you are encouraging a lot of people who look like us, who come from backgrounds like us, of being like, you know what? I can do that.
Absolutely.
You know?
And what I would say is, you know, we see it a lot out there that some places don't have diversity. Pero que te valga, you do what you got to do to get in there. You work your butt off, no matter what people have to say. Just focus on you, because that noise can really stop us from thriving and from shining.
Amen. I love that. Thank you so much again for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Latinas Power Talk and subscribe to that YouTube channel so you don't miss another episode. We will see you back here next week on Wednesday with another episode. Bye.